Hello, Garland Nixon here, hanging out with the one and only Larry C. Johnson, he of sonar21.com. We got some great articles to discuss today. Let's talk. Hello, Garland Nixon here. We're hanging out with Larry Johnson. Larry has a great website. Let me show it to you right now, sonar21.com. And, you know, I get messages from people that say, wow, Garland, the analysis is great. You seem like you know what you're doing. And if I'm honest about it, as Casey Stengel said, when he was the coach of the Yankees and he won a bunch of championships, and he was asked, they said, how do you do this? You're a genius. And he said, you know the definition of a genius? And they said, what? He said, taking credit for all the home runs that somebody else hit. Well, that's how I do it. And one of the places that I go, you know, Reminiscence of the Future, ScottRitter.com, Andre Martianoff, and of course, Sonar 21. It's concise. There's usually not a ton of stories up there, but the stories that are there are really, really meaty and give you a great insight. We're going to get going. And this is an important story to start with. And I think it's an obvious one based on some of the things we've been hearing. Larry Johnson says from sonar21.com, the war on Iran is not over. Larry, what's happening?
Hey, man, it's good to be with you, as always.
Thank you. All right. Well, you know, I think to me, the key is that when you realize that this was not about nukes at all. I think the Washington Post has finally put out a story. Well, they were working on this for a long, long time, that this is about regime change. It's all a bunch of BS, that they didn't get their regime change, so it ain't over. Your thoughts, Larry, and the angles that you're taking with this great article.
Yeah, this the attack on Iran on June 13th was a culmination of a long time CIA, Mossad project. It was Mossad led, but the CIA was involved, MI6 was involved, the International Atomic Energy Agency was involved, and all of this was with an eye towards creating a justification for the attack. But the purpose of the attack was to change the government in Iran, to get rid of the Ayatollah and the Islamic Republic. The quote, uranium enrichment was just an excuse. And the Israelis almost pulled it off because what was launched on the 13th of June was a combination of the murder of a group of senior IRGC commanders, the murder of a number of prominent Iranian scientists, then the attack, a cyber attack that wiped out the air defense and the computer network for the military and intelligence services. Actual physical attacks with anti-tank guided missiles on air defense units that were strategically positioned. And when Israel launched that attack, and they did it, I believe, with the full participation of a U.S. Cyber Command, that the expectation was Iran systems would be down for a week, and that in the ensuing chaos, Israel could move through other assets that it had put into place and take it over.
Well, Larry, if you could just go for about 1 minute, I got to go answer my door. So I'll be back. Yes. Keep going. Oops.
While Garland's on his way to the door, let me just finish the explanation for those of you watching. The system was not down for 5 days. Iran got it back up and running, and according to both Pepe Escobar and Alistair Crook, they it was done so with the help of Russia. So the Russians got it back up and running. So the system was not down permanently, and within the first 12 hours, Iran was already striking back with ballistic missiles against Israel. That, I believe, is the real story here. And that, the article that you cited, the war is not over. I don't know why Iran stopped, because Iran was on the threshold of defeating Israel militarily. I mean, comprehensively. People say, "Oh, how is that possible?" Well, it's actually quite easy. Iran's ballistic missile. Let's first concede two things. Neither Iran's defense system or Israel's defense system were worth a cup of warm spit. They failed. Iran's failed because they were directly attacked and the network broken, but also it failed because the Iranians refused to accept Russian help. Israel's failed because they ran out of missiles and they weren't hit, and they couldn't hit the hypersonics. When you consider the fact that the size difference, yes, Israel inflicted damage on Iran, but Iran is 3 times the size of Ukraine. So, and I use that as a comparison when you realize how much damage Russia has inflicted on Ukraine over the last 3 years, 5 months. Then there's no way in hell that Israel could even begin to inflict that level of damage on Iran. So the first thing that happened is Iran shut down Israel's one international airport, Ben Gurion Airport. All of a sudden now, no more commercial flights coming in and out. The only flights getting in and out of Israel were military flights. So people that wanted to travel to get the hell out, they had no way out. They were trapped. Iran, by contrast, has 29 international airports. So Israel may have shut down 2 or 3, but the other 26 kept operating. Iran has 8 ports in the south that access the Persian Gulf and the Sea of Oman. Israel only has 2 container ports, Haifa and Ashdod. Both were attacked and shut down by Iran. So now, not only is there no way to fly out of the country, now they don't have any way to get products in, products out. Those 2 ports are effectively closed, and ships are staying away because of the insurance. They're afraid they're going to get attacked. Well, you might as well have your foot on Israel's neck at that point, pressing down. Then Iran hit the 2 oil refineries, oil refinery in Haifa and an oil refinery in Ashdod. All of a sudden, all this oil that was being processed for diesel fuel and such, gone. So Israel was really facing, you could make a case of an existential threat economically. And maybe one of the motivations for Iran to pull back was they didn't want to create an incentive for Israel to use a nuke because it was faced with an existential crisis. But what the outcome of this battle between the two, even with U.S. assistance, was to demonstrate how vulnerable and really how lacking in capability Israel is, despite a massive, well-organized, incredible intelligence operation, despite decapitating the top leadership of Iran. It still failed. And at the end, it was Israel begging for the ceasefire. And we don't even know the damage done to military bases. We know that the IDF headquarters was hit, Mossad headquarters was hit, Unit 8200 headquarters was hit, the Weizmann Institute, which played a major role in nuclear research for Israel, that was destroyed. So Iran really inflicted some serious damage. Then we're confronted with how do we end this mess? Now, I think at the outset, because again, this wasn't Trump's plan, and Trump had just been briefed on it. But, his claim initially, when it looked like it was a smashing success, I knew everything, brother. I knew it all. And then, 36 hours later, when it looked like, when it started to turn into cow manure, he's going, I know nothing. I see nothing. I hear nothing. I didn't even get out of bed today. No. What a difference 36 hours made. And then from that point on, the propaganda Israel kept putting out, well, we're beating the hell out of the Iranians. Yeah, you guys are taking some punches here. And the way Iran got Iran was pretty open about the damage it was taking. And, it wasn't, its censors weren't out saying, oh, no, we've got to shut that down. Israel, its censors shut it down. And notice there were very, very few civilian casualties reported out of Israel. Very, like 24 to 36, with all the missiles and explosions and buildings getting destroyed. In contrast with the Israelis killed hundreds of civilians, which is, typical thing of these disgusting Zionists. That's how I view them. Then Trump, so the way out of this, manufacturer, we're going to destroy Iran's nuclear enrichment programs and their ability to make the bomb. And so then they supposedly attacked 3 sites, Isfahan, Natanz, and Fordo. Now, the initial reports I saw said they dropped 3 to 4 bombs, these GB-57s, these 30,000-pound monsters, that they were dropped by 2 B-2 planes. Okay, here's the problem. The B-2 can only carry a payload of 40,000. That means it could only carry 1. So if you got 2 planes, you got 2 bombs. Where'd that third bomb come from? And Iran made no attempt to shoot it down, no attempt to intercept, nothing. And there are photographs indicating that they had actually vacated the premises a couple of days before. And despite, Trump's comments that, it was the uranium enriched were too heavy to move, that's nonsense. It can be moved either as gas or as a solid, let's call it dust. So, Trump's just making it up as he goes along. And were those sites bombed? Yeah, but Iran claims that it removed the enriched uranium and it stored it at a secret site. Well, what does Rafael Grossi, the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, say? He said, where is it? Where's that uranium? You got to let us into your sites to inspect so we can find out where it is. And the Iranians now are telling the IAEA, hey, you can go pound sand. Because it was through the IAEA, through an intelligence through either CIA, Mossad, French intelligence, but one or more of the foreign intelligence organizations got access to the names, addresses, and phone numbers of the Iranian nuclear scientists because IAEA had all of those. And in fact, that's why for so many years, CIA and DIA and state INR and NSA could all come together and agree that Iran was not working on building a nuclear device because they had penetrated IAEA, they had penetrated the Iranian nuclear program, so they knew exactly what was going on. Mark what happens next. When they next meet to have an assessment, they are going to come out and say, we don't know. Iran very well could be building it now because we don't have the access and sources we once did. So that's what Donald Trump has accomplished. Cutting off intelligence access so we could follow what Iran was doing, and allowing the enriched uranium to disappear so we don't know where it is or what's being done with it. Heck of a job there, Don. Heck of a job.
Way to go there, Brownie. Remember that one? Great job, Brownie.
Yeah.
A question, or rather, just a thought. I can understand in a way why Iran would. I mean, I can make an argument both ways. You know what I mean? I can make an argument for them to continue going so they could paste the crap out of Israel and put them in the bed. I think right now, Israel's in far worse condition than they are letting on to it.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
in
No,
bad
I
shape.
agree.
And what's really bad, here's the real difference. A country is only as good as the people in it. You know what I mean? An organization is only as good as the people in it and the cohesion of the people. The Israeli people, when your water is not doing too well and you're not sure that's going to be running, your electricity's off, your internet's spotty, your buildings have been smashed, you've been hiding every friggin' night in a doggone basement somewhere hoping not to get the crap bombed out of you. And the only reason that people are in that country is because they've been told you're Jewish and it's not safe to be in Paris or Washington or Chicago because you're Jewish. There's too much anti-Semitism. Come here where it's safe. And so they left Brooklyn and they went there because they're safe there. Of course, they're leaving in droves. They've left. They had to stop telling them to leave. They ain't coming back.
Yeah.
I think that Israel, the philosophy behind what makes Israel, what makes it attractive for people and all that is shattered. And on top of that, here's what they say. You're safe here. Now, all these Arabs just want to kill you. They just, for no reason at all, they just hate you and they all want to kill you. But we have escalatory and physical and military dominance, so you're safe. Well, it's not true that the Arabs just want to kill them for no reason. But even if you can convince somebody of that, they got no escalatory dominance. So what people now know is you're living in Israel, you're pissing off people, and if you piss off Iran enough, they can flatten you. And they're going to Russia and China. I have a funny feeling they're going to rebuild their air defense system, and it's going to be far better than it was before. And they're still going to have missiles that can pretty much penetrate yours at will.
Yeah. There's nothing on the U.S. side or that Israel has that can stop the Iranian missiles. And in fact, what we've discovered is it's very expensive, at least from the Western standpoint, to build air defense missiles. So consider the Israelis relied on AR2 and AR3. Those missiles are produced in Israel using components that are manufactured in the United States. The cost of each missile, $2.5 to $3.5 million. Understanding that whenever an Iranian rocket, Iranian missile, Iranian drones coming in, they'll fire a minimum of 2 of those at that drone or missile. Well, just do the math. If it's estimated that Iran, over the course of 12 days, fired over 500 missiles. Okay? So that means at a minimal, they fired 1,000 AR2, AR3s. Well, you know how many AR2 and AR3s they make a year? Maximum of 50. So that's 20 years. That's 20 years worth of aero missiles that went up in a period of 10, 11 days. That's a $3 million a shot. And the average estimated cost of an Iranian missile, $1 million, 500,000 maybe. Hey, how about the Theater High Altitude Air Defense System, the THAAD? Oh, those go for $13 million a piece. And again, they're not produced. They're produced in the hundreds, not the thousands. Patriot missile battery. Lockheed Martin produces 550 of those missiles a year. We're not talking the launchers. We're talking the actual missiles. 550. So there were first the reports surfaced in the Washington Post, then the Wall Street Journal, that Israel was running out of missiles, by God, which is why they wanted a ceasefire with Iran. Please stop. This was a technical knockout. The ref stepped in to stop the fight in the third round because Israel had too much blood in its eyes, couldn't see to punch back. I candidly think Iran made a mistake in stopping. I think they would have done a world a favor if they would have continued on to put an end to the Zionist madness. Because even today, I was just watching reports, these crazy settlers in Israel are attacking Palestinian Christians, not Muslims, Christians. These Zionists are beasts. I mean, they are just they are inhuman in what they do to other people. And unfortunately, it looks like the only way to stop them is with violence, because they're certainly not listening to reason. But Israel is now. That's why I say I think this is a temporary lull. The White House keeps insisting, oh man, they're going to be Iran is coming back to the negotiating table. They've got to give up all enrichment. Ayatollah's been pretty clear. We're not giving up an enrichment. And the next pressure will be, hey, you got to get rid of those ballistic missiles that work so well. Oh, yeah. So you tell me I just fought off an intruder from my house with a shotgun and you want me to give up the shotgun? Yeah, good luck with that. So we'll see. I think the Trump administration will be trying to set the narrative that, Iran is they're going to have a real trouble going back. Well, Iran lied to us. They actually are still enriching. Now they're weeks away from having a nuke. Well, wait. I thought you destroyed it and it's done for 5 years or however long. So right away, Trump and company, they've created a problem for themselves, because just as we've had prior experience with this. Go back and look at all the assurances the intelligence community gave the operations side on the release of Stuxnet, the Stuxnet virus. That was 2012, and they were told, yeah, this will wipe out Iran's centrifuges. They're not going to be able to process and enrich uranium for years to come. 2 months later, they're back up and operating. I think then we're in the same thing here.
Well, I think the Iranians will. I've been saying they'll agree to give up their ballistic missiles one salvo at a time. They'll deliver them to Israel. Maybe that's the way they're going to give. Yeah, we'll give them up 30 or 40 at a time. We'll deliver them to Haifa and Tel Aviv. So I don't think they wanted to give them up the way the Iranians will. Something else I wanted to throw by you. Something else that I think is one of the most disgusting things that I've seen, and that is, look, if you get elected to be a United States senator, you should be a senator for the United States. If you run, why do you want to be a United States senator? Well, I feel like maybe I can help our country move in the right direction. Maybe I can do this or that. I don't know. Whatever the hell. You got a plan. And people, okay, you got a flag pin on. I think that's a U.S. flag on it. All right, fine enough. We see these people like Randy Fine. Oh, I'm going to wear an IDF uniform to Congress. Oh, I shook Netanyahu's hands. I'll never wash my hand again, like some teenage girl with whatever those boy bands or something with that they were, and literally like a 14-year-old girl with a boy band or something. Oh, I'll never wash my hands again. We get Ted Cruz. It was disgusting. You're from Texas, dude. Texas. What? Hold up a Texas flag. Hey, Texas people are supposed to be like so proud of being from Texas. They got rattlesnakes, cactus, Texas stuff. What do they ask this guy? Oh yeah, it's Israel. United States, Texas. Never heard of it. I am the senator from Israel, and I'm like, these people are sickening to me, and they want to call themselves, oh, I'm a patriot. Like hell, you're a patriot. These are the furthest thing from being patriots.
America's second. Yeah. When Cruz said that he wanted to become a senator to defend Israel. It's like, and that's where Tucker's head almost exploded on camera. So what? How can you say? But he was sincere. You got Brian Mast, another member of Congress, Jewish member. He was a terrible bomb tech, blew his legs off with it, because he mishandled explosives, and. He wears an Israeli uniform on the floor of the House of Representatives. I mean, it's like, hey, you know what? If you want to be pro-Israel, if you want to wear Israel's uniform, good. Go there and do it. I don't like Mexicans waving Mexican flags in America. And I don't like Jews waving Jewish flags in America. If you love those countries so much, go back to them. Does that make me anti-Mexican? It's not. No, it makes me pro-American, a nationalist, and proud of my country. But don't bring the crap from your other countries here. We don't need it. And if Israel wants to go out and get in a fight with all the kids in the neighborhood, be my guest, but pay the consequences for doing that. And instead, the United States has been enabling them and permitting this genocide to go on. And Trump could stop it. But yeah, again, Trump's performance over the last 12 days has just been embarrassing, pathetic. I think he's dangerous for this country as a whole. And the way that the attacks, he's creating a real problem for himself with the intelligence community. Because imagine, having done that work, I know what it's like that you take these analysts aren't just sitting there watching the TV and saying, yeah, I agree with that pundit and I disagree with that one. And so I'm going to take a list of all the pundits I agree with, and I'm going to put that together as an intel report. No, what they're looking at is they got overhead imagery. They're also looking at intercepted communications. They were actually able to track where the Iranians moving stuff, which they were. And so when they do their initial assessment based upon the information they have, instead of, going with that, because it was a preliminary assessment, they get attacked. So now all of a sudden, the manager at DIA who approved that person's career is in trouble. They're dead. They have now, you pissed off the president. And the person we're talking about is probably a colonel that would have been eligible to be promoted to general. Your career is over. So that message goes out, and all the other comparable colonels in land management positions, they go, well, I'm not going to say anything now. You're going to dial it back, dial it down. And Trump is now guaranteed he'll be like the blind person crossing the street, and the traffic control officer standing on the corner, and they see a car speeding towards them, knowing that he's going to get run over. But instead of saying, hey, watch it, zip, they'll just stay quiet and let him get his ass run over. And then they say, well, you said you didn't want us to talk on this. You didn't want us to report. So we're just doing what you said. And, that's how this game gets played. And, the attacks on Tulsi, and for her to go along with it, she's enabling this kind of stupidity. Trump got played by the Israelis. The Israelis had planned and plotted this whole thing all along, and they finally convinced him that we got to go, and he buys into the narrative. And then when it doesn't turn out as expected, he tries to distance himself. And then he tries to take credit for, I've settled the Pakistan-India thing. Both countries are going, that, male bovine excrement. That's not true. You had nothing to do with it. But it shows his narcissism now is out of control. He's just, I think the guy's lost touch with reality. It's dangerous.
I'm starting to feel I'm starting to get that Joe Biden feeling that sooner or later he'll be walking around the stage looking for the invisible man to shake hands with. That's when we know we're in deep and serious trouble. Well, he had this tweet about Netanyahu. Now look, anybody who's been focusing, paying any attention to Netanyahu knows that guy's crooked as a barrel of fish hooks, right? Bribes, some guy that was supposed to testify against him a year or two ago. This guy's supposed to testify against him. It goes down in a small plane crash. I'm like, oh yeah, there's a shock. You know what I mean? The guy's a gangster. He's a gangster is what he is. A crook, a shyster, a gangster, top to bottom. So now, of all things, apparently he's going to have to go to court for one of his many crooked deeds. And Trump's tweeting, oh, he's a hero. He's done so much for Israel. Yeah, I'm looking at Israel and I'm thinking, his handiwork don't look, it's rubble. And everybody in the world despises Israel. Israel's a pile of rubble. Their infrastructure is obliterated. Everybody in the world despises him, and Trump, and they hate us too. And Trump's like, he's done such a great job. He's been good for Israel. You drop it all. This is cooked up. Pardon him. Let him go. And I'm like, why are you wading into that with this lunacy?
Yeah. No, it is. What's particularly interesting is how fiercely the White House, the Pentagon are attacking the reporters who, they're reporting what is, again, it's being leaked out. And again, it's selective outrage because the Trump administration is reporting on highly classified information too, but they're just making it an official leak. The reason they don't like this leak is it embarrassed them and showed them up. And again, the claim that they completely wiped out Fordo. Alistair Crook has actually been there and been down into the depths. Then there's no way the United States destroyed it. Not even destroyed access through the entrances. They caused some damage above ground, but then the other part of this kabuki theater was when Trump allowed Iran to launch missile strikes at Al Udeid Air Force Base, which had been largely vacated. These were both shows. The U.S. striking and making the strikes so they could tell Israel, "Oh yeah, man, we wiped them out. So now you need to back off." It was really a face saving, but Israel had calculated that this war would be over in 2 weeks anyway. So, but I don't think it certainly ended the way Israel had hoped, because the Iran held the upper hand with the missile strikes.
Well, let me ask you this. Meanwhile, this farce in The Hague, the NATO meeting. And I believe the New York Times was kind of reporting that, well, they really seem like they've lost interest in Ukraine, right? The New York Times is reporting that they didn't talk about Ukraine that much, that Zelensky wandered around as usual. And literally at one point he said something to the effect of, well, I know there's a lot of, money's been stolen, but you're going to have to give us so much that they can't steal. Basically, my interpretation is, he said, people are bringing up there's a lot of corruption, they're stealing money, but what you're going to have to do is just give us so much that they can't steal it all. Give us 45 billion. There'll be some left then. I'm like, oh boy, yeah, that makes a lot of sense if you're one of the ones stealing it. But here's the thing. These people, they started a war on the border of a superpower. And the people in the country that they started would have been pretty much wiped out, generations wiped out, kidnapping people, throwing them in a friggin' back of a bus, shove them to the front so they can get torn to shreds by artillery. And now, a year later, which we all said this should be over, to stop this thing. They're like, yeah, I think maybe we should go in another direction. Macron's like, I guess we should talk to the Russians. They're just busy licking Trump's boots. Oh, he's great. He's daddy. He helps us out. Oh, please don't leave. I'm like, NATO and these clowns, I didn't even know what to say about them, Larry. This thing, you'd have to laugh if there weren't 1 million people dead and 100,000 Russians.
Well, I was trying to find out who coined, where did the official the term "who's your daddy"? Where was that first used? In what movie? What piece of literature? What song? At some point, it was used someplace where it became, "who's your daddy," and then, the sort of the homoerotic imagery that's promoted with Ruta calling Donald Trump daddy. It's like, really? You almost expected to see like an S&M bondage outfit whipped out, with Ruta with an apple in his mouth and Donald Trump, spanking him with a leather whip or something. I mean, it was obscene. And they perpetuate this notion that Russia is a threat. Yeah, Russia can't wait to invade Europe. Why? What does it need in Europe? It doesn't have enough transgender people in Russia. It doesn't have enough degenerates.
I guess they want to recreate the opening of the Paris Olympics. I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, Russia's not lacking for land. It's got plenty of resources. It needs more people, but it does have some requirements if you're going to immigrate to Russia, because they're not just going to accept anybody coming in.
You got to pick a gender at least. You got to know what gender you are in order to come. Most likely, they probably got a list of 2 genders. Check one of them off. They're going to have a whole long list of genders.
Yeah, if you're male or female, you qualify. So, yet these NATO countries want to perpetuate this myth. In order, so as long as they perpetuate the myth, they can still justify why they get to go to these meetings and have these conferences and get-togethers. It's an excuse for the existence of NATO. The Ukraine project is lost. Ukraine is it's that chicken without its head. It may still run around for a bit, but it is no longer going to be have the life force of the head on top. And Russia just today captured the site that has the largest lithium deposit. Oh, that was the one that Ukraine signed over to the United States about a month ago. It's now in Russian hands. Sorry, Mr. Trump, no more lithium for you. And there's signs that the Ukrainian ability to fight is crumbling all across the front. So this thing may very well be over by the end of summer.
Yeah, it's falling apart. And my prediction has always been this: one day when the Ukrainians wake up, they're going to be pissed at the West. They ain't going to be pissed at Russia. They're going to wake up and they're going to say, well, you led us into this mess. And then once we got the crap beat out of us, you walked away and left us holding the bag. And you know what? They're going to say to the U.S., well, we got to be rebuilt. Can we have some money? And oh, no, you can't. And might I add this? Yeah. Israel has like billions or hundreds of billions of dollars worth of damage. Who the heck do you think they're going to ask for the money? They're going to come to Congress and say, well, we got $300 billion in damage. We got to build refineries. Their military industrial complex, the Rafale place and all that, blown smithereens. They're going to say, we got to build our scientific places. We got to rebuild our airport, our military bases, our military industrial complex, our refineries, our electric plants. All of those things, a lot of them were flattened. That's going to cost hundreds of billions of dollars. They're going to come to the U.S. And you know what? Ted Cruz and those guys are going to say, how much do you need? Now, if you're an American, you ain't getting a friggin' dime. I don't care. A tornado can flatten your country. I mean, your whole region, they'll give you $700. And you got to go online to get that. But you can't go online because all your internet's down. So you get $700 if you're in North Carolina and your town is gone. But when Israel comes a knocking and they ask for $500 billion to rebuild all of that crap, they're going to get every dime of it. And people are going to be pissed. I think people are sick of that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that this whole Trump escapade with respect to going to war with Iran, and that's what we did. We attacked without justification or cause. Another country, a country actually that was a signatory to the Non-Proliferation Treaty, and a country that was allowing IAEA inspectors into its facility. And it turned out IAEA betrayed Iran by giving up the names of all their scientists so that they could be killed. And yet Trump betrayed his promise to his base and got us into another war. Now, albeit short, he pulls up, stops it, within 12 days. But I estimate 10 to 15% of people who constituted the MAGA base are now they're gone. They've broken with him. You can put in that people like comedian Dave Smith, podcaster Joe Rogan. I know you put me in that category. Whatever whatever willingness I had to provide any support for Donald Trump, as far as he's dead to me from now on. I will have nothing to do with the man and endorsing his presidency or assisting him in any way. I feel I'm so beyond disappointed. I think it's despicable and dishonorable what he did, and it's better to go vote for my dog than do anything to support him or those Republicans to support him. Dead against it. This thirst for war has got to stop. We have got to stop. We keep seeing our only solution is to go out and kill others and destroy, and instead of trying to promote peace.
I tell you what I feel like, and I've been saying this for a while since this went down, that Trump is like the Republican Obama. Obama came in, I'm going to do peace. I'm going to be friends. I'm going to remember this. I'll reach out and shake hands with anybody who will reach out and shake. Will you talk to the Iranians? They specifically asked. Yes, I'll talk to the Iranians. I'll talk to anybody. I'll talk to these other blah, 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 blah. It starts overthrowing countries, blowing stuff up, paying off the banks, bailing them out, all the other stuff that everybody had done in the past. It was nothing but lies. All of it was lies to get in the office. Absolutely every bit of it.
Yeah.
Lied to his base. And then when he got out, filled his pockets full of money. Okay. Trump comes in. We're sick of all of these wars. I mean, he knew what people wanted to hear. These wars and all over the place. We got to focus on America, America first, blah, blah, blah. And then when people say, hey, what about this America first thing? I mean, you seem to be putting Israel at the top of the list. And what's he say? I decide what's America first. Well, wait a minute. That's top-down politics. That's why people are leaving the Democratic Party, because they're saying we want bottom-up politics. We want the people to elect someone, and then that person speaks for the people, does what you had a conversation with the people. The people said, this is what I want. And you said, I'll give it to you. Fair enough. That's a deal. Yeah. And then you get in office and you say, I decide what's America first. And America first means Israel. And if you don't like it, screw you. And I'm like, you're doing exactly what Obama did.
Yeah, no, I think that's an excellent parallel. Difference was Obama was a much better speaker. Now, you can make the case that Obama spoke in too educated a manner for the average American, because what we've learned is that 50% of Americans read at the 6th grade level or lower. So Donald Trump's way of talking actually probably reaches them easier, because Trump talks like a 6-year-old at times, constantly repeating himself.
Yeah, using these constant, beautiful. It's beautiful. It's great. Everything's the best ever. Nobody's ever done this. Like, okay, people didn't mind that as long as you're kind of giving them what they want. When you're aggravating people and you keep saying that stuff, it just pisses people off, because it's all hollow now, and who would ever trust a person that says, I'm making a deal with you, and while I'm making a deal with you, I'm just distracting you so my buddy can sneak up and hit you in the back of the head with a baseball bat. Okay, Iran's going to come back to the table. Like hell, they're going to come back to the table. The last time they came back to the table, you just distracted them so Israel could sneak up behind them and hit him in the head with a baseball bat. Now, if you think they're going to come back, if I'm Iran, I'd say, I'm willing to talk with Russia. Send me somebody from Russia. Send me someone from China. I will pick the country that I'm comfortable with. You don't have any say it. And I'm willing to talk through a third party. I ain't talking to you people.
Yeah. If there are signs, there's, Trump's insisting that the Iranians are already talking to Witkoff. If the Iranians are dumb enough to fall for this, then you know what? They get what they deserve. They've been warned. Once you've been told, don't get into the snake pit and play with the cobra. Stay out of the cobra pit. And then you climb back down in to play with the cobra and get bit. Hey, it's your own damn fault. Now, go back to like June 1st, when Russia was attacked by those drones. that hit the strategic airfields, at least 2 of the 5. And then we learned that 2 days before that, there'd been an attempt to kill Putin with drones as he was flying into Kursk. And then peace talks, though, were supposed, negotiations took place in Turkey on Monday. That was like June 2nd between Ukraine and Russia. Okay, that sort of seemed to one off. But then we come to June 13th. And again, same tactic. Drones that are inside trucks parked inside Iran, not parked inside Russia this time, are launched, and they go out and they kill certain people. There are decapitation strikes that kill prominent military and scientific personnel. Now, if you're Russia, you got to step back and go, wait a second. You know, this is the same tactic played out again. And then these are not just coincidence. These don't just look the same. This represents a shift in the tactics. So what it does on the one hand, because again, that attack took place just before peace talks were supposed to take place, or negotiations on the nuclear enrichment program in Iran between the United States and Iran on Monday. It's just a mere coincidence that a day or two before talks that either Russia's going to engage in or Iran's going to engage in that have Western backing, that there are attacks on them that end up, in the case of Iran, just derailing the talks. So that's where I think this is really a wake-up call for Russia and China, and they go, these are some devious bastards. They really are. We cannot trust the West at all. And they may not necessarily blame Trump because, Trump's not the mastermind behind this. Trump gets, he sometimes gets the mushroom treatment as well, kept in the dark, covered with manure. But there are some other people calling the shots, and Trump occasionally gets notified about it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this whole scenario has done tremendous damage to the United States as a country on the international. The damage that has been done over the last, 2 years, from the actions that Israel are taking, killing innocent people, attacking every country in the region, pretty much every country in the region they bombed, the United States supporting it, now supporting this mad war of aggression, backstabbing somebody that you're negotiating with, using international bodies for intelligence. I think at this point, the United States is considered by any reasonable country, the governance, the leadership of our country, have to be considered as a rogue nation. Anybody, there's nobody, if you're anybody, and they U.S. calls and says, yeah, I want to come negotiate and make a deal. You got to look at the phone and say, okay, guys, everybody huddle together because they're going to try to screw us.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah, this is the damage that's been done to the U.S. reputation now. Who can trust us? Who can trust anything that we say? And, the real irony here is that Israel is not abiding by any of the international conventions. It does not allow IAEA inspectors in its country. It is not a signatory to the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Iran is, in contrast to Israel. So Iran is signed on to the NPT, and Iran foolishly now allowed IAEA to come in and inspect the facilities, because you'd think that when they are attacked, when IAEA knows they're not building a nuke, that IAEA would condemn Israel or condemn the United States. Nah, they zip their lips, say nothing. And they've done the same crap in Russia with respect to the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. It's been Ukraine attacking that, and Grossi and his team, well, we don't know what's going on. We don't know who's responsible. It's just like, go play stupid with someone else.
Yeah, I think the particularly a lot of international organizations, but particularly the IAEA is so discredited now. I think that the IAEA is discredited. I think that the NPT is in tatters. And those are very, very important, both an organization and important rules. We don't want more. Who wants more nukes?
Right.
A lot of people are like, yeah, I hope Iran goes out and get a nuke. Well, I really don't. Because then Saudis, then UAE, then Turkey, and now there's more and more nukes, and the more there, the more likely somebody is to use it. I'd like to see Israel have to get rid of theirs. I'd like to see less nukes. So I understand people saying, hey, you know what? It wouldn't surprise me, and Iran has every right. I'd understand that. They have been threatened. But personally, I would prefer a more organized world where there were actual organizations that you can trust, and that we can do things to make sure that we lower the probability or possibility of a nuclear war. That's not the direction this thing's going. And we have blown that thing to pieces to the point where we don't even care if it's true anymore. They got them. They don't have them. Oh, we blew it up. We destroyed it. We obliterated it, but we not really, but you're not allowed to say we really didn't. And so now, bit by bit, we're the ICC, they come out, the ICC says, hey, these guys are committing a genocide. Oh, well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to sanction the ICC judges and their families.
Right, right. Yeah.
International organizations tearing it to tatters.
Yeah, it's like, who's the lawless, who's the one flouting international law and creating a threat to others? We need to look in the mirror, take responsibility for our own deeds.
I think you're right. Well, everybody, Larry Johnson, before we go, he has a fantastic website. It's one that I go to regularly, sonar21.com. Look at that. Lots of great articles, lots of stuff going on there of Iran. You can keep going down here. He has guests from, great guests that are writing different articles. Certainly go over here and guess what? Support us. You can support them through PayPal, PayShoot, Patreon, or Buy Me a Coffee. Always remember that everybody who's doing this stuff, whether it's Larry, Andre, Scott, me, all of us, look, we're not getting $30,000 a show like Rachel Maddow in those pieces. If somebody's nice enough to feel that our work is important enough to contribute, that's what happens. And if they don't, more often than not, nothing happens, but the money comes out of your own pocket. Go to sonar21.com if you can afford it. Please help, contribute so that Larry's good work can continue. Larry, thanks a lot. Certainly appreciate it. I know you got to run, but we appreciate it. Appreciate you coming on.
Hey, man, I so appreciate you doing what you do. We'll see you next week, hopefully.
All right. Sounds like a winner. All right. Larry's got to run. Thank you. Larry's gone. Thanks a lot, everybody. Just wanted to say on the way out, follow me on Rockfinch, follow me on Rumble, follow me on Telegram if you can afford it, if you can. PayPal, Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee. It's always an easy one. It's just say like, buy Garland a coffee. How much? $5. How many? Whatever. 1, 10, a million, whatever you can afford. And last but not least, you can actually do Buy Me a Coffee monthly, just like Patreon, if you can afford it. I always say that. I don't want anybody to do things they can't afford. So I can't afford. So as I said, PayPal, whatever, the Substack, you name it. Follow me on Substack too, by the way. I got some great articles there. And of course, I now have a P.O. box. So if you just want to send me snail mail, send it to my P.O. box. That's always good. And whether it's a book, people send me a print. I've had people print out articles, write a card. Thanks a lot, Garland. Love what you do. Little stuff like that feels great. Sometimes people do send contributions that may not want to use credit cards online. So however you want to, my P.O. box is there. Thanks a lot, everybody. Most importantly, share this info on all your social media platforms. I'm out.